Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Miller.
Here.
Eckhart.
Here.
Benson. Nelson.
Here.
Valencia.
Here.
Fisher. Stelling.
Here.
Hannaford.
Well, we do have enough for a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started. Consent agenda, the discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at City Council meetings will be approved by one vote of the council. Any member of the council desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items: approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 18th, 2015, and approval of claims in the amount of $111,239.75 and payroll expenses of $90,365.09. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Miller, second by Councilman Melton to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Miller.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Valencia.
Yes.
Stelling.
Yes.
Eckhart.
Yes.
Okay, the next item is reports from boards and officers. Joe Don, can you fill us in on the ones that you can?
Sure. We'll start off with the board meeting for the ARC, which was held on May 20th. This was a pretty routine meeting. We went through the approval of minutes and finances. Did have some discussion on the contract with NWSU for the soccer field and softball field. We also had some discussion on our strategic plan for ARC, got some direction there. As a side note on that, the strategic plan committee for the rec center also met. Be a week and a half ago to further discuss that a little bit, and we should be starting some more meetings with architects shortly. Really didn't have a lot of discussion over the policy and procedures, waiting for some more information there, and they did approve the recommendation for the budget for 2015-16. And Mayor, that would be what happened at the ARC board.
Does anybody have any questions for Joe Don during the Rec Park board meeting? Joe Don, can you do the tourism board?
On the tourism board, they did have their normal approval of finances and approval of minutes. There were also a couple of different action items. They did approve for the Oklahoma Today advertising an amount not to exceed $20,433. They also made approval for the Nescatunga Golf Tournament, an amount not to exceed $4,617.53. There was they also approved. Oh no, I'm sorry. The Nescatunga Golf Tournament, no action was taken on that one. I'm sorry. And then on the Alva Rotary Club 4th of July Spectacular, they approved an amount not to exceed $20,000. During this meeting, they also discussed the FY 15-16 budget and made a recommendation to the City Council on that, and then made a recommendation for a budget amendment for $128,285 for unanticipated collections. With that, the meeting was adjourned.
Well, Don, are there any funds, are they budgeting any funds for their audit? I know they've had discussions about the audit.
There are no funds budgeted at this time, no. I would expect that once we have that RFP out and receive bids on that, that then we would take it back and have them do a budget amendment for that, to authorize that and do a budget amendment on that.
Any update on the time frame for that RFP?
Not at this time. It's still, we're still trying to get some things wrapped up, and we just haven't had time to get the RFP prepared and out.
Any other questions for Joe Don on the Tourism Board? Is there a Planning Commission meeting report? There wasn't. Okay. Wastewater Committee, I know, met today. Would Councilman Stelling or Melton or Joe Don care to report?
Go for it, Mr. Dunham.
Okay. Well, the Water Wastewater Committee met today. They did review the RFP for AMR systems to be resubmitted. Made a few recommended changes. The staff will make those changes or implement those changes. And submit it back to the committee for an email approval. Also during that committee meeting, they approved the proposed FY 2015-16 water and sewer projects and the map that would go along with that. The map that we've got is something that we're preparing, is something new that we've prepared, that we've decided to prepare to kind of help give a visual outline of where we were going on most of our infrastructure projects, water, sewer, fire hydrants, and another separate map for streets. And that would be the bulk of what happened at that wastewater committee meeting.
Does anybody have any questions for Joe Don? All right. Wes, would you please give the Finance Committee report?
Excuse me. This evening we discussed the RFP for insurance for the city of Alva. We're trying to get those to all coincide on the same date. Right now, those policies come up periodically throughout the year, so we're going to be trying to get those all combined into one. That RFP will be going out shortly. We discussed the budget, which has been is in your packets. We also discussed the possible incentives again for new construction and development in the city of Alva. Both the budget and the incentives took up the majority of our time. After we did the update on the financials, cash and investments, and signed purchase orders.
Does anybody have any questions for Councilman Miller? All right. For my report, I'm going to also talk briefly about the Street and Alley Committee. Street and Alley Committee did meet this morning, and we discussed, as Joe Don mentioned, the map of city projects. There is I would say, a pretty ambitious plan for what to do in the 2015-16 fiscal year. Will it be at everything? No, but it will certainly be a great start. We spent the majority of our time going over those plans, and then we did not take any or make any considerations regarding a truck route. However, that's been talked about at meetings in the past, and with that, I'd answer any questions regarding streets and alleys. As far as the mayor's report is concerned, again, I've stayed plenty busy with different meetings and events in town and out of town. Went with Joe Don and Alex Mance to the Northwest Oklahoma Water Action Steering Committee meeting in Enid this last week. Attended a couple different Memorial Day event at the Homestead. Had many citizens talk to me about the Memorial Day services that had traditionally gone on at the municipal cemetery, and that did not happen this year. It was one of those miscommunication of responsibility, I guess, and I want to apologize that didn't happen. I have since talked to two members of our community that have the ability on an annual basis to help facilitate future Memorial Day services, and Jeff Blackshaw and Kenny King, both veterans and both very willing to take that event on an annual basis, and that way we can make sure and have that without interruption. The cemetery, I'm just going to make sure everybody hears this, because I continue to get very, very favorable remarks on the upkeep of the cemetery, and I also continue to get very, very negative remarks on the upkeep of the cemetery. And, you know, it's the same cemetery, the same day, the same time, and we do have some perceptual issues with regard to how people think the cemetery should look. And I do know that I plan on attending the cemetery committee meeting or board meeting next week, it's next week, and seeing if there is just a huge discrepancy in what people want to see out there, or if there's really some issues that need to be addressed. But I do know that there were people that were just beside themselves at how wonderful the cemetery looked when they were out there Memorial Day. I also know there are people who called me with the exact opposite reaction of what they saw Memorial Day. So it's all over the place. I responded to a couple different requests that I've directed to the city manager, both regarding the healthcare hospital ordinance adherence, as well as a request to do some metal detecting at the POW property. Got a few board appointments and committee appointments to make next week, and I think just a couple more items. The traffic signal at US 64 and 281, I'm getting lots of compliments on that from members of the community, and I have visited with the Moose Lodge, who is interested in conducting fundraising activities to benefit the Alva EMS automatic compression equipment purchases. So I think they're hoping to purchase either one or two of those devices for the ambulance crew with their efforts. That concludes my report. Anybody have any questions? Joe Don, would you please give the business manager's report?
Yes, sir. Over the past few weeks, the budget has consumed a lot of our time. We do have a preliminary budget here for the council's consideration as required. If I hear nothing back off the preliminary budget, we will proceed with it with a public hearing on June 15th. We'll have a notification in the newspaper about the public hearing this Friday and Sunday, along with next Friday and Sunday, with the public hearing to be held on June 15th, with the intent on passing the budget later on that evening. I did meet with Mr. Kevin Seeley from Integris concerning the hospital ordinance last week. We had a long discussion about what Integris's intentions were, and I provided him with the hospital healthcare facilities permit application, another copy of the ordinance, and a document outlining the timeline for action items relating back to that ordinance. Felt that it was a pretty positive meeting, and look forward to seeing that application come through. The infrastructure maps, we've alluded to them a little bit. Staff has been in the process of preparing maps depicting infrastructure improvements over 2015-16. Those maps have been sent to for our engineer to be put in a final item, a final publication form for our website, and to be distributed to the city council members. This is just the first step of that process that I would like to see. I would like to see us have maps for the next 5 years out. And that way, when we come budget time, when we're looking at infrastructure projects and we're looking at capital improvement projects, we've got next year lined out, and what we'll be discussing as staff and as council is what needs to happen 5 years from now. And to get those things rolling. That's what I'd like to see is as part of that infrastructure mapping progress. Some of the projects, current bid projects we have going on. We've got 2 projects out at the airport. We've got a runway lighting project, and we've also got a taxiway construction project. The runway lighting project is expected to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 78 to 100 and between $75,000 and $100,000. The taxiway construction project is done in cooperation with an FAA grant, and that'll be a $500,000 project. The AMR project, we are putting the final touches on again. Once that is awarded, that'll be a $500,000 project. We've got an insurance RFP that we're putting out for insurance services. That should be completed by the end of this week. And then also still slated on the table is the hotel tax audit RFP. Next meeting, with some things that we've got coming up, some items that we'll have coming up, we'll need to approve just as a more of a routine nature to kind of shore up our budget. We'll have some budget amendments that for 14-15 that we'll have on the agenda. We'll also have the resolutions. I anticipate having the resolutions for the budget passage for 2015-2016. Some of the meetings that we've got coming up right now, we've got the library board meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow, Board of Adjustment and an Airport Commission meeting on the 8th, and the Cemetery Board meeting on the 10th. Do anticipate, Mayor Parker brought up the NWAT meeting that we attended last week. That report, if you'll remember back last year about this time, we dedicated $10,000 to go toward the preparation of a capital improvement plan for concerning water. You've been provided with the final documentation that was produced by that group of people throughout northwest Oklahoma. I'm also in the process of making arrangements for Mr. Kissling or Mr. Smith, or both of them, to come and make a formal presentation of this document to the council. Would expect that to happen probably sometime in July. And with that, Mayor and Council, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have.
If there are no questions for Mr. Dunham, we'll move on to item 7, which is discussion and action to approve ordinance number 2015-052, an ordinance amending the employee retirement system defined contribution plan for the city of Alva, Oklahoma, by adopting a revised and restated retirement plan, providing retirement benefits for eligible employees of the city of Alva, Oklahoma, providing for purpose and organization, providing for definitions, providing for eligibility and participation, providing for non-alienation of benefits, loss of benefits for cause and limitation of benefits, providing for employer and employee contributions, providing for accounting, allocation, and valuation, providing benefits, providing for required notice, providing for amendments and termination, providing for transfer to and from other plans, creating a retirement committee, and providing for powers, duties, and rights of retirement committee, providing for payment of certain obligations, providing for duration and payment of expenses, providing for effective date, providing for vesting schedules, providing for a fund to finance the system to be pooled with other incorporated cities, towns, and their agencies and instrumentalities for purposes of administration, management, and investment as part of the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund, providing for payment of all contributions under the system to the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund for management and investment, providing for repealer and severability, adopting those amendments mandated by the Internal Revenue Code. The attorney get paid by the word on that?
You ought to.
I believe so. I'm sure for everybody that's just all real clear.
Joe Don, why don't you explain?
Well, this goes back to the resolution 2015-99 that we passed on April 6th, amending and restating our trust indenture for OMRF. This ordinance is a result of those actions, and it's needed to update and approve the new IRS approved master plan document. And this new master plan document is needed to keep us in compliance with IRS rules and regulations. Additionally, some of the changes in this master agreement will allow for daily record keeping of the system, and allows for the city to adopt both the IRS and the daily plan changes jointly. After both systems are in place, it'll allow for the defined benefit, the defined contribution plan, which we are under, plan to have individual account balances updated daily rather than monthly at a cost-neutral fee. Financial impact, there'll be no direct significant financial impact for either the city or the employee because of this. You do have a letter in there from OMRF, and you have a document that was prepared by McAfee and Taft as far as the master plan contributions, the master defined contribution plan. And the one thing that I would like to kind of point out is we did refer to a committee, the establishment of a committee, and providing for powers, duties, and rights of that retirement committee. For the city of Alva, that retirement committee will be the city council. And with that, Mayor, that'd be my report and my update on what this actually would do for the city of Alva.
Anybody have any questions for Joe Don? If not, I'd entertain a motion regarding action on the ordinance.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2015-052.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Miller, second by Councilman Valencia. Is there any further discussion? To approve, the motion is to approve action, or to approve ordinance number 2015-052, amending the employee retirement system defined contribution plan for the city of Alva, Oklahoma, as stated in the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Please call the vote.
Miller,
Yes.
Valencia,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Eckhart.
Yes.
Item 8 on the agenda is remarks and inquiries by citizens. If anybody would like to make public comment, it'd be limited to 2 minutes per speaker, and please identify yourself as you address the council.
Since I'm on the agenda, is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Okay. I'm Jewel Dew, and I'm the president of Woods County Senior Citizen. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, and Councilman, I appreciate you letting me come here tonight. I am on the issue of a building at 621 Barn Street that had, a few years ago, had burned. And this burned out building, nothing has been done to it except closing kitchen part, the dining part belongs to Woods County, and we rent it from them. But the building east of that building belongs to the Woods County senior citizens. And after the burning happened, then the deadly mold set in. Well, about 8 years ago, we had the people from Oklahoma City come up, and they wore their white suits, and they cleared out our building from the mold. Well, the other burned out building still has the mold, and it is very strong, and it's deadly. The gentleman that came from Oklahoma City to talk to us about the mold in that east room said, don't let anyone go in there. That is deadly. So now we are breathing deadly mold and bird droppings. And of course we can't see in that building. The windows are all covered to keep the pigeons in and out. Well, they go through the roof. We, in our east building, have a new roof that was put in there maybe a year before the fire. And so there is no water leakage in that building at all. And we use that for storage. Also, the county wants to put us in automatic doors. And this would just be wonderful because we have some elderly people that come in with their walkers. And so that would be wonderful. But the carpenter that was hired can't work in there where those doors are supposedly going to put in because of the stink and the danger of that deadly mold. And we would like the city to help us get that building torn down so that we don't have that anymore. I know the owner of the building, and she doesn't live in Alva, and some of you know her too, and she lives at Nescatonga. And I think that Joe Dodd might have sent her a letter. Is that?
Code enforcement has been informed of it. And we are doing the what we are legally able and legally obligated to do to make sure that the building is secure. That's the reason it's boarded up from the outside. Now, we were unaware of until I was unaware of, and I know the inspector was unaware of any roof issues until today. I mean, the inspector hadn't even seen the pictures that I was provided today. So we will be addressing those issues to make sure that that building is secure according to our ordinances, so that these issues are taking place. If they are not, if the owner does not follow through with the requirement of getting it prepared, it will come back before council as a nuisance. And once they've declared it a nuisance, we'll see what we can do with the building.
Well, I appreciate that. In the meantime, we're still smelling that, and the people come in that front door and they'll say, what in the world is that odor?
But there is a legal process that's outlined by the state of Oklahoma that we have to follow before we can do any of that, and we're following that process. It's not a fast process, unfortunately, but we are following those. We are going through that process.
Okay, I appreciate you listening to me and helping us out.
Thank you, Jewel.
Like 30 days, 90 days?
Well, we'll have one that we put a timeline on the letter when we send it to them that they've got to comply with or at least provide a plan for compliance. So, yes.
Are there any other comments? Are there any remarks from council members?
Just one brief remark. Did we get an updated list of boards, commissions, and committees as soon as you make your final appointments?
Yes. And we should be able to have that at the next council meeting. We'll be,
Well, I was just looking, I noticed the one that, we've got an updated list in the office. I just noticed the ones in the book was in February, so I mean, we'll have that list put in these books for the next meeting, and then after the appointments are made next council meeting, we'll update it again.
all right. Well, if there are no other remarks, we'll close the meeting of the Alva City Council, and we will open the meeting of the Alva Utility Authority. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Miller,
Here.
Melton,
Here.
Benson, Eckhart,
Here.
Valencia,
Here.
Fisher, Stelling, Hannaford.
Okay. Item number 3 is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at AUA meetings will be approved by one vote of the authority. Any trustee desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items: approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 18th, 2015, and approval of the claims in the amount of $24,817.90 and payroll expenses of $23,824.68. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Councilman Melton, a second by Councilman Miller to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? Clerk, will you please call the vote?
Melton,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Valencia.
Yes.
All right, we will close the meeting of the Alva Utility Authority and open the meeting of the Alva Economic Development Authority. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Melton,
Here.
Hannaford, Stelling,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Eckhart,
Here.
Benson, Valencia,
Here.
Fisher.
Item number 3 is discussion and action on the consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at AEDA meetings will be approved by one vote of the board. Any trustees desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed for discussion as the next item on the regular agenda. It will then be considered separately. The consent agenda consists of the consideration and action on the following items: approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 18th, 2015, and approval of claims in the amount of $10,291.70 and payroll expenses of $6,916.52. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Valencia, a second by Councilman Eckhart to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further action or discussion? Clerk, please call the vote.
Valencia,
Yes.
Eckhart,
Yes.
Melton,
Yes.
Stelling,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
All right. And now we will close the Alva Economic Development Authority meeting. Thank you, everybody, for